good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on New Beneficial Ownership Regime, Corporate Compliance Guidelines. My name is Lydia. I'm working for the European Enterprise Group of MBG Corporate Services, and it's my pleasure to host today's session. Next slide, please. Just to run through the agenda for today, I will give a very brief overview of MBG Corporate Services, followed by Mrs. Sakina from our legal team, who is an expert in the field of beneficial ownership and economic substance regulation. At the end of the session, we will have a question and answer. Throughout the webinar, if you do have questions, please send them across to us in the Q&A sections on the screen. We will try to answer them all live at the end. However, if we can't answer them within the time permitted, we will get back to you all individually after the session. Next slide, please. Yeah, MBG Corporate Services has been established in 2002, is headquartered in Singapore, and currently we have 16 offices in 6 locations, with which we cover Europe, Middle East, and Asia. Here in Middle East, we have a very strong presence in UAE, with around 200 employees sitting in our offices in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, as well as Sharjah. Globally, we have around 3,000 clients, and we are extremely proud that more than 100 of them are Fortune 500 companies. Globally, we have around 450 plus professional and experts employed for MBG Corporates, and as I said, around 200 of them work here in UAE. Yeah, one of our unique points is that we work with the concept of foreign enterprise group. So we have dedicated nationals from Japan, China, Europe, Singapore, India, who understand the customer's requirement and bridge technical, cultural, and linguistic barriers. We provide services at every stage of a client's life cycle here, starting from launch, growth, shakeout, maturity, until extensions. Yeah, as an organization, we have a huge amount of services which we offer to our clients. Here you can see our business verticals, audit and assurance. Here I would like to highlight that we are extremely proud to be one of the official certifying bodies for the Unified ICV program, risk advisory services, indirect tax as well as direct tax services, M&A, legal advisory, strategy transformation, and technology services. Next slide, Mason. Yeah, the topic of beneficial ownership will be represented today by our legal team. Next slide, please. Yes, so with this, I would like to introduce the speaker for today, Mrs. Sakina Dickenwaller. She is a legal director in our legal department and has worked with corporate and commercial laws across many industries. She has been in the region since 2014, and I will now hand it over to you, Sakina.
Thank you, Lydia, and very good morning, all of you. So today, let's discuss about the newly introduced regulation by the ministry with respect to the disclosure of the real beneficiaries in the entities. So next slide, please. So this is the introduction that we have covered for today. So basically this regulation came into force on 27th of August 2020, which is just recently, which talks about the disclosure of the beneficial ownership. And also the main aspect in this is that it gives the 60 days to all the companies to do the compliances. So basically this is the second time that this regulation is coming into the force. Previously also around, I think in Feb or March 2020, there was a regulation which was being again repealed by this regulation, and this came into effect. So the main reason for introducing these regulations are, first of all, this has a much relevance with the anti-money laundering laws, which also emphasize on the transparency, that the companies should have the full transparency with respect to their operations. Also to curb some of the criminal activities in the country, and also the smooth functionings of all the companies in a very legitimate manner. This is what is the main objective of this regulation. And all the companies now, it puts a mandate to provide the disclosure to the respective authorities with respect to their operations, or who are the real owners or beneficiaries in the company. Next slide, please. So now here we have covered that to whom this is applicable, mostly regarding the applicability. So basically the regulation puts emphasis on that it is applicable to commercial companies which are being established in the UAE. Also the companies which are there in the commercial free zones. Now when they say commercial free zones, it primarily includes all the free zone except the financial free zones, which are DIFC and ADGM. So why there is a reason for this is that DIFC and ADGM have already introduced this regulation previously, I guess 1 or 2 years back, and all the companies have already done this kind of compliance and disclosures. Also, other than DIFC and ADGM, there are other free zones such as TCOM free zone, which covers the 9 free zones under them. The governing authority is Dubai Development Authority, then Dubai South Free Zone, DIFC Free Zone. These free zones already have this kind of disclosures and compliances framework in place. So other than those where not specifically the authorities have asked these compliances or documents or disclosure requirements, they definitely need to do this. And also it gives a kind of a liberty to the companies where the parent companies are listed on the stock exchanges, that they are the one who cannot identify and put in place the UBOs. However, they should always ensure the sufficient transparency with respect to the owners, and according to the regulations they should prepare and put in place the documents, because it is very difficult to provide the documents or all the ownership details in case of a listed company, because anyways it is a public listed company. Also, we have covered about companies' licensing authorities, because this is a very regular question we are receiving, that which authority will govern this. So basically the licensing authority, like for example, in case of the mainland entities, it is a DED. In case of free zone, it is a free zone entities. And the criteria for defining the beneficial owner has been primarily put as a person who is owning 25% or more in the company. That person should be regarded. But also there could be case that where we cannot find the ultimate person, an individual who is owning 25% or more. In this, we have prepared a case study which we will be going to cover in the coming slides. So how we should identify the beneficial owner in these cases, we have already described by way of a case study. Also, this mandates to maintain the register of the beneficial owner as well as the partner. Now, this mandate to maintain the register of the partners is already existing in the current commercial company law also, which says that the company has to maintain the partners and shareholders register. And most of the companies have this requirement already incorporated in the MOA, memorandum, that all time they should keep the updated register of the partners. And also if there is any nominee board member which is acting in the company, then they need to provide the details of the nominee board member also to the authorities, as well as they should prepare a register for the same. Next slide, please. Now under this slide, we have defined that who is the UBO. So basically, as I have already described, that the UBO is a person who holds 25% or more of the shares or a voting rights in the company. But also, as I said, that there could be cases where UBI cannot be identified. Then we need to identify a person who controls a company by means of controlling or by means of holding a position in the higher management of the company, then that person will be considered as the real beneficial owner. So this is something that really needs to check, thoroughly assessed, and then we can come out with the conclusion that who will be the person termed as a beneficial owner. Also, as I have already covered, that the deadline is a 60 days from the enactment of the law. So the 60 days time frame will end on 27th October, which is hardly like 9 or 8 days away. So all the companies should take steps promptly to comply with the regulation. Otherwise, there could be severe penalties which could be imposed on the company. So this consists of the exchange of the information with the foreign competent authorities where the corporate shareholder or the parent entity is situated with that jurisdiction, or also the registrar has the powers to define the administrative sanctions for failure to maintain these documents or to comply with the regulations. Next slide, please. Now here we have summarized the requirements that what exactly needs to be done under the beneficial ownership compliances and requirements. So first of all, they need to prepare the register which contains the details of the beneficiary, such as name of the beneficiary, nationality, date and place of birth, place of residence, passport number, and other supporting documents which proves that how that person is acting as a beneficiary in the company. Like there could be a power of attorney through which that person is acting as a beneficiary. So all these documents has to be maintained, plus the requirements has to be jotted down. Then also when we, as we have also covered about the requirements for partners or shareholders register, then the register should contain the number of shares which have been held by each shareholder. There could be one shareholder, there could be multiple shareholders. So each shareholder, we need to write against them what are the shares being held by them, the date on which they became the shareholder. Also, if there is any change, the company should promptly notify the authorities. Generally, for notification, they have given that timeline of 15 days from the date on which the change has taken place. So this is not something only one time. It will keep on, happening as and when there is a change in the constitution of the partners or beneficial owners in the company. Also, the company needs to provide the name, exactly the name, nationality, address, place of birth, MSID number, passport number, basically the identificate for the identification purposes. And in case if there is any judicial person, as we need to put on the individual who will be the real beneficiaries, who will be representing each partners in the company. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we have covered the case studies that how we will going to identify the real beneficiaries in the company when there is a multi-layer ownership being there in the company. So if there is a company which is owned by some company A, herein we have covered a case study, which is ultimately owned by the trust, then how we will going to define the beneficial owner? Then as we have covered that there could be a case that individuals are not being traced by way of holding, then we need to look into the provision of the senior management, that who is in charge of holding a position in the senior management, or who is controlling this company, ultimately the company B, that person will be nominated as a real beneficiary owner. So yeah, this is the right way. This is just simple. We have created 2 layers of the company. There could be more layers also. So we really need to look into all the chain of the shareholdings, and then we need to come up with the conclusion that who will be ultimately the beneficial owner that will be regarded for this company B. Next slide, please. So in this case study, we have covered a very simple case that there are only 2 individual owners which owns a company. So how this will be applicable in this case? Because very straightforward. So in this case, mainly the beneficial ownership is quite clear to the authorities. Just you need to submit the documents which already might be you have submitted, but just updated version of the documents you can submit. And also you can create the documents which has been emphasized in the regulation, like the register of the BOR and also the register of the partners. And if there is any change, you can notify. But what happens sometimes that companies are busy in their businesses and they do not have much time to do all this work. So it's better to engage a professional who can take this work, and the companies can focus in their businesses. So also from a compliance perspective, as currently the mainland entities which is governed by the Dubai Economic Development, they do not have any set format released for disclosure of the beneficial ownership. So a professional expert can guide them in a better manner than how they should do the compliances and what are exactly the documents to be created in which format also, so that it could have 100% compliance with the given regulation. Next slide, please. So now we have summarized how we can help the companies in this kind of scenarios. So we can help the companies in identifying the beneficial owners, because where there is a very straightaway case, it is very easy to do it. But in that case also, again, the documentation and compliances requirements will remain in place. That has to be something considered and taken care by the companies. So they can just outsource this work and they can do their business freely without any headache or tension of doing the compliances. Also, the preparation of it requires the preparation of the shareholder registers and beneficial owner register, which could be easily done by any professional expert, because they have this knowledge of preparing records as per the compliance with the regulations, because we need to really thoroughly go through the details, and then we need to put it in the place in a correct manner. Also, there's a requirement to file the information. So the professional expert can help you in filing it with the respective authorities, because even the authorities are not very much clear. So depending on where the company is located, where the business is located, we can advise the companies and where to file the documents. And when there is any change that happens within the company with respect to their shareholders or directors and maybe also the beneficial owners, then we can advise them that how that has to be promptly notified, because for notification also there is only 15 days time limit that has been given by the law. So it is very important to comply within the time frame, because failure of which also could have a severe implications on the registration. Also, this could lead the companies to have the suspension of the licenses. Next slide, please. So this is the way forward, that how they should get ready with compliance of this beneficial ownership requirements. So first of all, there is an assessment needs to be conducted that with respect to the shareholding structure of the company. Then we need to prepare and update the ownership registers and partners registers. We need to compile all the supporting documents, because one of the regulation which is being covered in this is that you need to, when you are declaring any beneficial owner, you need to declare it with supporting documents. Everything you should having a supporting documents in place. So this is how we can, rightly check the documents. If not available, we can advise the companies to, prepare it or to obtain it from maybe the parent entity or some entities, and then accordingly we can file it with the authority, the relevant documents, as well as the notification form, which gives the details about the ultimate beneficial owner in the company. Next slide, please. Yeah, so on this note, I would like to thank all of you for joining it. It is a very quick session that we have conducted on this regulation, and also we would like to invite you, or we would like to take your questions. So I would like Lydia to take it further.
Thank you very much, Sakina. Actually, we are getting a lot of questions in. So please be assured, if we cannot answer them live here, we'll get back to you all individually. I just started to pick some of the few questions. So Sakina, we will start with one question. Do do we have to submit beneficiary owner register if we are a branch or representative office of a parent company located in UAE? And how do we provide these informations?
Yes, sure. So basically, yes, if there is a branch or representative office, this is a main requirement which they need to, comply with, because in their case, there's a company who is holding the shares. There is no UBO which is being declared, right? Means clearly identified by the authority, and that is how this regulation has been come into the force. So after identifying the UBO, that who is the ultimate individual persons who is owning the companies, they need to put in place all the requirements. They need to prepare the documents, also compile all the documents and information which gives a proof of that beneficial owner, and they need to file it with the authority.
Okay, thanks for this. We have another interesting question. Will our company be exempted if our corporate shareholder is listed on a recognized stock exchange, or does it have to be our company which needs to be listed on the recognized stock exchange?
Yes, so basically, the law does not talk clearly about exemption of a company if they are on the listed on a stock exchange. But if the parent entity is listed on the stock exchange, then just they need to maintain the records in a very transparent manner. If not clearly one person is being identified as a like beneficial owner, but it does not give an exemption. Maybe the requirement would be in a very customized manner. They need to prepare and present to the authorities, but it does not clearly give an exemption.
Okay. Could you explain who is the person who controls the company by other means of control in the absence of individual beneficiary owner? And who could be those individuals? Could it be the company's manager, director? Could he be considered as the beneficiary owner?
Yeah, it could be anybody. It could be anybody who is there in their senior management. Now, again, we need to check that how this company is being, controlled and directed, and by whom, and who is the senior management in the company. There could be one or there could be multiple also. So there is not any position been defined in the regulation that in place if there is no UBO as a 25% holder identified, then will there be a specifically manager being regarded as a person or director or anybody else? We really need to see the function. We also really need to see that how that person is performing the function, who is authorizing that person, and then accordingly we can disclose the UBO to the authority.
Okay. Then I have a question which I see a couple of times here in the Q&A section. What are the exempted entities?
Yeah, so basically exempted entities, it is there are conditions being given that currently exemption from this regulation is applicable to those who are based in the financial free zones, as we have covered in the DFC and ADGM. Also, which is wholly owned by the local or federal government, those will be considered as exempted entities.
Okay.
But it has to be wholly owned by the government.
Okay. Then another question in this regard, a sponsor who has more than 51% share capital, can he be treated as a UBO?
Yes, because the threshold is 25%.
Okay. Then this is a frequently asked questions on today's webinar. How do we submit the information to the relevant authority? Is it by email or submission in person?
Right. So as I have already covered, for it completely depends. If there is any free zone, then free zone must have provided some manner. Maybe it is through their online portal, or they have given some ID to send the documents. In case of mainland also, when we have contacted the authority, we are sending through email, as well as the physical submission is also something which is advisable to do. A correct manner of submission has not been defined, but it is advisable to do it online also, and if possible a physical submission to the authority, so that it is confirmed that the companies have submitted and the authorities have taken the information.
Okay, so I think we'll take one more question so we can finish on time. which all companies need to maintain a register?
Yeah, so all companies needs to maintain the register because to whomsoever it is applicable, so it is applicable to all the entities.
Okay. Then I would like to thank you, Sakina, for your expert opinion. I would also like to thank the audience for all your questions today and for tuning in. As discussed, we will get back to you all individually within this week. On behalf of MBG, thank you everyone for your time. I think the session shown and the questions which we are still getting in, this huge interest in this topic, and we look forward to discuss it individually with you as well. You can see our contact details here on the slide, so please feel free to reach out and we will address all your queries. Thank you very much, everyone, and take care.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.